And now, Knock 2 Studios presents Common Censored.
How are we going to really almost deprogram these people who have signed up for the cult of Trump?
This document is called FM 3 through 39.40, Internment and Resettlement Operations, and it's a comprehensive manual issued by our very own Department of the Army.
There are millions of Americans, almost all white, almost all Republican, who somehow need to be deprogrammed.
But here's where it gets interesting. Buried within the dense military jargon and procedural detail is a framework that could, under certain circumstances, be applied domestically. Yes, you heard that right. This manual provides guidance that is adaptable to various operational environments, including potentially right here at home.
Because they've been brainwashed, Joy. I really believe that they have been brainwashed by this misinformation campaign.
So how do you de-radicalize these people?
Once we educate them, we coach them on how to interact and empower the person to start thinking for themselves.
I think a lot of people are going to have to be deprogrammed.
We had a program addressing white supremacists, that we had programs, federal programs, that went towards funding organizations like these that de-radicalized people, and President Trump pulled the plug.
Let's take a closer look at some of the specifics. Chapter after chapter, this document meticulously details how to set up and manage internment and resettlement facilities, how to process and transport detainees, and even how to handle medical and dental care for them. It talks about capturing, screening, and interrogating detainees and outlines the roles and responsibilities of military police units in these operations. Now, imagine these procedures not just in a foreign war zone, but on American soil. The manual doesn't explicitly state that these operations will take place within the United States, but it leaves the door wide open.
What ultimately breaks that power structure in the South is enforcement, right? There has to be consequences.
Over half our country needs to be reprogrammed. Not just 75 million people that voted for Trump, but the conservatives in this country.
Consider the chapter on civil support operations, which highlights the involvement of military police in civil missions, coordinating with civilian authorities. This could easily extend to domestic scenarios where the military might be called in to manage large-scale disruptions or civil unrest. We're also looking at chapters that cover the rehabilitation of detainees and the resettlement of displaced civilians. Think about that. Rehabilitation programs for detainees, resettlement operations for dislocated civilians. These are terms we associate with wartime operations in foreign lands. But here they are in a document that is perfectly applicable to situations within our own borders.
A Bernie Sanders staffer was caught on undercover camera saying that Trump voters should be sent to re-education camps.
What are we going to do with those people that resist the change? Because that's a big deal.
Well, I'll tell you what. In Cuba, what do they do to reactionaries?
They shot them on the beach.
I'm not buying rooms. That's a lot of Republican voters. And Homeland Security will put the children and we'll put them into re-education camps.
Amen.
What's even more troubling is the absence of clear boundaries. The document doesn't draw a firm line to exclude domestic application. Instead, it provides a flexible framework that can be adapted to various operational environments. The ambiguity is unsettling. It's like they've crafted a comprehensive plan for internment and resettlement and left it intentionally vague enough to be implemented anywhere, including right here in the U.S.
So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents. or kids belong to their families, or recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
This isn't about fear-mongering. This is about being aware and vigilant. As citizens, it's our responsibility to scrutinize these documents and ask the hard questions. Why does our military have a manual for internment and resettlement operations that could be used domestically? And more importantly, under what circumstances would they deploy these procedures on American soil?
I have decided we really need camps for adults. And we need the kind of camps that you all run. I mean, really.
While other networks lie to you about what's happening now, InfoWars tells you the truth about what's happening next. Visit Infowars.com/show and share the link today.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Common Censored. I'm Lord Sterling, and this is episode 184. We're going to be covering the CNN debate live as it goes down on Rumble and X, both of whom have said they will not be taking down channels who cover it. Elon Musk stated, as we covered yesterday, that it is not DC, whatever it is, the copyright law is not applicable for this. It's fair use. Everybody should have access to watch and to comment on presidential debates. So we're going to be doing that. Figured we start a little bit late today since we'll be going a little bit later and cover a bunch of news stuff beforehand leading up to the debate. We have information about the House, how they've invalidated the J6 committee, rendering all of the subpoenas null and void. And they've sent an amicus brief to the court for Steve Bannon's case, hopefully preventing him from having to go to prison. We also have a crazy case down in Georgia with human trafficking being busted by a good Samaritan who's driving down the highway and saw people inside of a U-Haul trying to lift up the door from inside and unlock it to escape. He called the police, followed the vehicle until the police were able to shut it down. Super crazy stuff down there. In addition to that, we have 5 states now allegedly suing Pfizer for the jib-jab stuff that we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. So we'll be killing the YouTube feed at some point before the debate so we don't get struck over there. Oh, man. But yeah, this is a crazy day. The debate is going to be a total shit show. There's all kinds of rumors about CNN putting it on a 2-minute delay so that they can edit out Joe Biden screwing up and all this kinds of crazy stuff. We have Brian Stelter denying that. So there's mixed messaging about what's really going on. Thanks again for being here, all of you censored commoners. We must work together as force multipliers to spread good information far and wide to help wake people up, accelerating and exacerbating the Great Awakening so we can stop the commie overthrow of the world and the U.S. dead in its tracks before they finalize their operation. Make sure to use hashtag CommonCensored when you share the broadcast over on X, where you can find us at _CommonCensored. And let's see, thanks to all of our new followers over on Rumble: Bad Kitty 73, Danny Joe 2, Humble 017, King Marku, Jason Lee 57, SDE Forrest says he's also a descendant of William Alexander, Lord Sterling, George Washington's major general, arguably his most trusted general. So that's pretty cool. Looking forward to talking to you, SDE Forrest. Also, shout out to Jay Mulbach, Rowdy99, Jim Bob Billy Boy. Thank you guys for following on Rumble. I appreciate you. Links to everything we talk about today throughout the broadcast will be posted down in the description after the show. So if you guys are watching this later on and you are pressed for time and want to maximize the efficiency of your attention and time usage, feel free to hop down into there to the description, find the stories that interest you. And there's not going to be any timestamps today unless Red Crypto is feeling generous because Mama Mac is off. I told Mama Mac, if you don't show up and do the timestamps, you're fired. Straight to the volcano with you. No, I'm kidding. She's hanging out with her mom, listening to some big band music live. So shout out to Mama Mac. Hope she's having a good time with her mom. To support Mama Mac and fam, make sure to check out alplama.com, your new herbal health guru, with tinctures to remedy any ailments you may have. Tastes bad, but is good for you. I'm trying to get her verbiage right out there. I say tastes bad, but does good, but she's been saying something else. So I'm trying to update my lingo. And if you guys want to support this broadcast, feel free to Rumble Rant. We'll be reading Rumble Rants throughout the broadcast. If anybody feels so inclined, you can also hit up our link tree to find links to our merch, to find links to Amazon to pick up copies of our gag book and our copy of Thomas Paine's Common Sense, first edition revived, made from high-resolution images of an original January 1776 copy of Common Sense. Pretty cool thing to have, in my opinion. I tried to make it the exact size of the original and spent a lot of time making it as nice as possible for your enjoyment. You could also tip us at Cash App, Venmo, Google Pay, etc. And anybody that supports the broadcast will be automatically entered into a contest to win copies of our books. Your choice, which one you'd like, as long as there are multiple copies of each still available. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. Alicia, I see you over there. Ed Hoskins, Bayou Gator, Threeper, Red Crypto. What's up, guys? Hope you're all having a good Thursday. So let's jump into some news. We're going to start off with some big positive developments regarding the J6 committee. Oh, I guess first I should probably do our disclaimer, huh? Disclaimer. Views expressed on Common Censored are only opinions. Assume everything we say is false and research for yourself. We're not giving medical, legal, or financial advice. The only advice we are giving is think for yourself. Question authority. Think for yourself. Question authority. Boom! I see Unique Prepping over there hanging out too. What's up, Z-Man? Thank you guys for being here. All right, boom. So we're going to start off over at Mama Mac's page on X, @_Mama Mac_. Make sure to follow Mama Mac. She's always posting lots of good stuff. She was reposting Scary Election Denier over here at No Man Tedesco, who posted this huge, we've got huge news leading up to the debate. Speaker Johnson invalidated the J6 committee. This means that the contempt of Congress against Steve Bannon is now null and void. Peter Navarro should also be released from prison right now. So this is awesome. We have Matt Gaetz confirming this on his X account. So it should be accurate since Matt Gaetz is sitting in Congress and he has good information about this. Supposedly, Speaker Johnson did such a good thing here, he says. Should have been done day one of Republican control, but we're finally beginning to clean up the mess and remediate the harm of the J6 unselect/illegal committee. That's right. House has invalidated the J6 committee, which impacts the Bannon case. The bipartisan legal advisory group, BLAG, in the House of Representatives voted 3-2. Oh, sorry, Unique Prepping, I got that wrong. 3, and I'm not sure how to do 2. 2, to declare the J6 Unselect Committee as illegitimate, invalidating all subpoenas issued by the committee. The House is set to file an amicus brief with the Supreme Court regarding this matter. The decision is seen as significant, particularly for Steve Bannon, who was involved in the events surrounding J6. So this is really good news, guys. Really positive stuff. Gateway Pundit also covering it. Breaking big news for Steve Bannon. Bipartisan legal advisory group votes that the J6 committee was illegitimate, which we've been saying all along. House to file amicus brief with the court late in the evening on Tuesday. And we touched on this briefly yesterday, but I'm only getting confirmation as of last night. Lysar, how do I pronounce that? Lysar. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. My groin here. Kept my maiden name. Sister from another mister. Good stuff, Lysar. Thanks for joining us. This is awesome. Mike Johnson announced that the House would indeed file an amicus brief in support of Steve Bannon's appeal against his contempt of Congress conviction related to the J6 investigation by the illegitimate J6 Unselect Committee. Let's take a look over here at Mike Johnson's statement. This is being posted by Citizen Free Press. I know I'm following them. I'm getting unfollowed from people on X. Breaking. Mike Johnson just announced he's authorized the House to submit a congressional amicus brief on behalf of Steve Bannon to the Supreme Court and Justice Roberts. Finally, some positive momentum for Bannon. Let's scope.
Mr. Speaker, I understand there might be a change in position regarding how the House and their stance on the January 6th committee.
Suck it,
and it
Trebek.
might be regarding Steve Bannon, and it may have a big impact
Natron!
on his contempt case. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, we're working on filing an amicus brief in his appellate work there in his case, because the January 6th committee was, we think, wrongfully constituted. We think the work was tainted. We think that they may have very well covered up evidence and maybe even more nefarious activities. We've been investigating the committee itself. We disagree with how Speaker Pelosi put all that together. We think it violated House rules. And so we'll be expressing that to the court. And I think it will help Steve Bannon in his appeal.
Boom. Nancy Piss Pants Polydent Pelosi. What a blight on our country she's been. Ever since the early 90s or late 80s, whenever she got in, she's just always been doing bad stuff. We played a few flashback clips of her promoting climate change, evil stuff, even all the way back then. So this is great. Hopefully we have developments sooner than later as far as it goes for Steve Bannon. We want him to be free, not have to go to prison. We need him. As we know, they're attacking all of the major MAGA pro-Trump media leading up towards the election. They're trying to shut down Gateway Pundit with lawsuits from every angle, including from people like Ruby and Shay Freeman, who were caught on video pulling tubs out from underneath tables in Georgia in 2020 and taking stacks of fake ballots, allegedly, and jamming them through the machines repeatedly, which was later verified by the batch numbers that came out of there, with repeated batches being logged digitally in the system. Let's jump over to our next topic. Rich sent me information about this earlier, too. This is from Bernie at Artemis for Now on X. Replacement migration actually is a thing. It turns out that the UN has a, quote, population division within its Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and it also turns out they have a very large document called Replacement Migration. You guessed it, replacement migration refers to the international migration that would be needed to offset declines in the size of a country's population, or just to replace people, of working-age citizens, as well as to offset the overall aging of a population. It only would be necessary if you're, poisoning people so that they can't reproduce, as we've seen with the sperm counts declining, the onset of the LGBTQ FAG trans movement, discouraging people from repopulating, the chemical castration involved with that and everything. Continuing to keep populations at a constant of 2020 levels by 2050, the number of migrants needed is calculated by the UN computer to be 674 million, or 13 million per year for the EU alone, and a total of 1.4 billion for Europe. In the UK, to keep population at 1995 levels, it would require a 59.8 million migrants between 1995 and 2050, more than 1 million migrants a year. The overall UK population would reach 136 million in 2050, of which 80 million, 59%, would be post-1995 migrants or their descendants. That would double the population, our population, Bernie says, seemingly living over in the UK. This modeling document and others is probably what leaders are basing their migration policy on, only they haven't told you that. They daren't. The UN is telling you these migrants are, quote, climate migrants, and that digital ID and higher tax will solve all the issues, when, in reality, the undervaluing of women and treating them as tax cash cows rather than precious mothers has crashed birth rates. That's right, encouraging women to enter the workforce, in my opinion, covering the devaluation of the dollar and the various global currencies as they weaken them. The only reason people didn't realize sooner that their currencies were being destroyed is because women entered the workforce and we had the rise of two-income households, which offset the losses in value caused by the devaluation of the dollar and allowed nuclear families to continue at a rate that they otherwise would not have been able to sustain with single household incomes during the devaluation of the dollar. Continuing, what this modeling exercise also fails to explore is the enormous cultural shift, including religious ideology that will be forced onto existing citizens, nor does it factor in unrest or civil war from their meddling actions. Their mitigation for this is simply more control through digital ID and central bank digital currencies, and nor does it actually discuss these issues with citizens and allow them to choose or have any input, or give them an incentive to have more children. Make no mistake, just as with the COOF, computer modeling fails entirely to take into account human nature and the backlash against incoming and vastly different cultures. So we actually have this document called Replacement Migration by the UN, which is live on their website right now. And this is a 2000 document. Look at this. This is from March 21st, 2000. Replacement migration. Is it a solution to declining and aging populations, which you are intentionally causing? Seems like it to me. It seems like it to me. And Rich pointed out that this is basically recreating the migration period, quote unquote, aka the barbarian invasions, which led to the downfall of the Roman Empire. So it seems to me that this replacement migration operation is just another tentacle of their operation to destroy Western civilization and to usher in a global communist takeover. So they took the wealth of the US and the UK, weaponized it internationally to foment communist revolutions around the world, to destroy opposition to the communist takeover and anybody that opposes the central banks, and to destabilize and destroy the US, UK, Eurozone after completely devaluing our currency and rendering us economically helpless. They're bringing in populations to destabilize and destroy and subvert Western civilization as a whole. So this is a crazy development. Obviously, this document has been out there the whole time, but I will post a link in the description on Rumble right now if you guys want to download it for yourself to make sure that you have copies and preserve it, just like those DEW patents that we covered the other day, and just like the civilian inmate labor camp program that I posted the link to on X last night. Since I mentioned it, let's hop over to X real quick and I'll show you guys that document as well. Let's see, where's my post over here? All kinds of crazy stuff going on as usual. Are you MAGA? Get to know the layout of your new civilian inmate labor camp so that you're all ready when you get rounded up and packed like sardines into FEMA trains. Yay! Full Army, quote, internment and resettlement operations document from 2010. Right here with images of the layouts for the civilian inmate labor camps, dislocated civilian resettlement facilities, U.S. military prisoner internment facilities for non-compliant detainees. That's us. That's MAGA. This is what they have in store for us. D. Bergfelt, one of our great listeners and friends, picked out her spot right here near the medical ward. That's where she's going to be staying. I was thinking, maybe I'll pick a spot right next to the interrogation tribunal area as like a reverse psychology thing. So when they're looking for people to interrogate, maybe they'll like look deeper into the crowd and they'll pass by over me, but it could really backfire and they could pick me first. So maybe not the best plan, but hey, having a plan is better than having no plan at all. Let's hop over to the U.S. Army Internment Resettlement .pdf over here website, info.publicintelligence.net/US Army internment resettlement.pdf. And here we have it. Internment and resettlement operations, February 2010. And if we skip all the way through all the craziness down to page 260. This is where we have the plans for the facilities, detainee, internment facilities, etc. Their whole flow chart for the receiving compound, search, personal hygiene, medical evaluation, personal items, admin accountability, biometrics collection, property/evidence inventory, records review, movement to living area, holding area. So they got a whole plan in place to deal with MAGA, as we saw from the cold open of the episode with that clip that I played. That was from Chase Geyser, who had posted it on X earlier. So that's pretty crazy. They've got the migration period, the barbarian invasion, reenacting it to destabilize us. And if we put up a fight, they're going to put us in internment camps. It seems Soviet style. So we can all look forward to that. Yeah, here we go. Zoom in a little bit. Refuse collection area, QRF, guard brief, mortuary, medical, right here, interrogation tribunal area. This is madness. This is madness. This is the weaponization of the federal government against the people. Biogator, they might be playing some metal music to break them in the interrogation, and I'll be kicking back and jamming. The other downside is that if they do pass over me and grab you guys to be interrogated first, I could be driven mad by the sounds of you being tortured in the interrogation room right next to my bed. So how about we don't do any of this? Let's refuse to comply. Make sure that you have food, water, ammo, and ammo, like Ed says, so that you don't need to go to the stadiums and the facilities that they'll have ready in a collapse scenario to provide food for the useless eaters, as they have deemed us. Be prepared so you can hold out on your own, and you don't have to go to any of these camps. Ed, I'll be worm food before they put me in a camp. You're goddamn right, Ed. You're goddamn right. Lisa R. Yes. Oh, man. So this is a mess. This is a mess. We have some interesting developments as far as the whole debate this evening with Owen Schroyer covering it earlier. I don't know.
And claims how great the economy is. Well, that's going to piss Americans off because they know that.
Damn, it's not reset yet. But right at the start of War Room earlier, he was breaking down all the new developments, how they're allegedly adding a 2-minute delay to the debate so they can cut out, edit anything they want. So like if Trump mentions the Ashley Biden diary, well, why did Ashley say that you were showering with her when she was 11 years old? They can cut that, delete it before it goes over the air. Or if Joe is stumbling over his sentences, they could delete it, hide it. Who knows? We have an update from CNN responding to the allegations of the 1 to 2 minute delay, saying that I don't know if it's actually CNN saying it. There's CNN Communications saying this is false. The debate will begin live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Responding to Patrick Webb saying they'll implement a 1 to 2 minute delay for tonight's presidential debate instead of the standard 7-second delay, potentially allowing time to edit parts of the broadcast. I'm confused because the report here from Gateway Pundit says CNN itself did not directly address the issue, leaving Brian Stelter, to debunk the report. But this is from CNN Communications, which looks like a CNN account to me. So it seems like CNN has actually themselves denied that this will be happening. Brian Stelter also wrote, "Watch out! It's wild out here today. Lots of people are falling for misinfo about the presidential debate production. To address one of the BS claims, no, CNN is not putting the feed on a 1.5 minute tape delay to somehow protect the elderly candidates." Brian, you know we're not worried about the candidates being protected. They're protecting one candidate and sabotaging another one, if this were to be true. You guys think that Joe Biden will even be able to stand for 90 minutes? He'll be like, with 2 commercial breaks, it'll be like boxing where he goes to the corner, collapses in the corner, and they're like rubbing cold irons on his face. And and giving him sniffing salts to stay awake for the rest of the debate. It's going to be fucking madness. It's going to be madness. Totally crazy. So let's check out some of the commentary, people discussing this situation. Let's start out with Barnes and Jones over.
Well, my prediction is that Trump has a surprise. He knows that he knows he's in his own version of a show trial.
And this was being reported last night that Trump had some kind of curveball he was going to throw before the onset of the debate, potentially announcing a VP candidate. So that could be interesting. There could be other options as well, some kind of curveball to throw off Joe.
Own version of a scripted case. They control the mic. They control the broadcast. They're threatening anybody who rebroadcast it with copyright violation. Credit to Elon Musk for saying, look, X is going to remain up as an independent platform and allow it to be broadcast because it's a public event and classic fair use. Credit to Chris Pavlovsky and Rumble. Says, hey, we're going to let Rumble be used to rebroadcast this. We're not going to be intimidated by CNN that wants to control the narrative. Biden set this up as a trap for Trump by having a controlled narrative of people who hate Trump, control the questions, control his answers by controlling the mic, and then controlling the broadcasting of it to the entire world and not allow a real audience in. No real audience is being allowed into the debate. So I think Trump is going to have a curveball knowing that this is the case. And look at what's happening around the world. We're seeing a populist revolution in France. We're seeing a populist revolution in England. And Nigel Farage, the Reform Party, may completely displace the Tories. And that's like, if people want to know what establishment republicanism would look like in America, it would look like the Tories, who are about to get wiped off the map. They're about to no longer exist as a political party of any consequence.
Nigel Farage only announced 2 months ago he already has the biggest party.
Exactly. And he's surging. And he may pull a shock upset. He may be the next prime minister of the United Kingdom because he just keeps going up and up and up and up like a rocket. Right before the election, he may peak at the right time. Why? Because populism is popular.
Farage was discouraging people from talking about the jib jab, though, a couple years back. So he's not fully to be trusted, apparently, but he's better than a lot of them over there.
As Trump once called popularism. But there's some truth to that. And populism is the zeitgeist. So if you want to be part of success, be on the populist train. The risk factor for a false flag event would be if Biden does very poorly tonight in the debate, that you might have someone that they blame as being a Trump supporter do something that takes out both Biden and Kamala Harris so that they can replace both of them, because the current problem is they can't replace Biden right now without dealing with Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris is much more unpopular than Biden.
Yeah, Kamala is basically Biden's life insurance policy because nobody wants Kamala to be president. So I think Trump needs to pick somebody like that as well to keep himself safe. Pick somebody like Steve Bannon, Vivek, Alex Jones to be your VP, and that'll guarantee that Trump will be safe for the duration of his term because nobody wants any of them getting in there and just bang, 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 chainsawing the establishment. Time for a chainsaw, not a chisel, as Vivek says.
So I think the risk factor is that they're already planting the seeds for that in different places by the way they're seeking the gag order in Florida. They're saying, Trump sends these secret signals to his audience through, and you know about this, Alex, this is what they falsely accused you of for years, that they couldn't produce a single piece of evidence for. They said, Alex sends these secret messages to his audience. There's nothing secret about Alex Jones.
No, it was Obama who was doing that. Spitting out communist talking points for the people who are in the know to understand while cloaking it in the red, white, and blue of Americanism. I could see through it at the time. So could a lot of people. Let's continue.
It's nuts. But they're doing the same thing to Trump in the gag order request. And what are they doing? They're setting the seeds for if anything dramatic happens. This was from Trump. This was Trump's out of control supporters because of Trump's secret messaging.
And like Mad Maxine Waters saying there's going to be blood in the streets before the election. They're setting the stage, chumming the waters, planting the seeds to precondition people to accept the phony narrative of MAGA domestic terrorism, which, makes me think again of the prison camps that they've got all set for us over here, building them in all 50 states as we speak. So this is crazy.
To do something. And then they could replace Biden.
Sheepdog.
In my view, if they ever replace
Good to see you,
Biden,
bro.
it won't be with Gavin Newsom. They'll have to somehow remove Kamala Harris from the equation. There's one person who has the political juice to still do that within the power structure, and her name is Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Boom. Let's hop over to Vivek on CNN earlier talking about the all of this
Donald
as well.
Trump. A lot. Now, somebody had the actual cojones to go on CNN and say this, and that is Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek Ramaswamy hopped on CNN, and it's a miracle. He didn't have his mic cut and his camera cut. Yeah, but he hopped on CNN and said this entire debate is rigged, effectively, to their face. I give President Trump a lot of credit for agreeing to do this debate in the terms, hosted by CNN Atlanta, without a live audience, with the equivalent of Biden agreeing to a debate hosted by Fox News in front of an audience of 3,000 people in Alabama.
That's hilarious. So Trump agreeing to do this with no audience, with his mic being cut. It's like the same thing as Biden. If the terms were reversed, the horror of having to go in front of 3,000 people and debate Trump with no mic cutting and everything. I like that analogy. Hilarious, Vivek.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, could you imagine? I said this before. It's like Joe Biden agreeing to do a debate moderated by Tucker Carlson, except for Tucker Carlson never worked for the RNC. Jake Tapper has worked for the DNC. Jake Tapper's worked for Democrats, elected Democrats in Congress as their flack. So it's not the same, actually. But here's Vivek making that point very strongly on CNN. Amazing they didn't cut his mic.
A former Republican presidential candidate, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Right. The other day when we covered the CNN gag order on the Trump campaign, I was like kind of confused about that. It was a colloquialism that when the Trump campaign went on CNN, they were just shutting him up and preventing him from saying anything. So there wasn't like a literal gag order. It was more of a colloquial CNN just shutting them down, cutting their mic live so the Trump campaign couldn't get their point across. Let's continue over here. Sorry for the interruption.
Ramaswamy, sir, thank you so much for being with us. So people have been reporting that Donald Trump is bouncing debate ideas off of his potential vice presidential candidates. You are said to be on that list. What policy areas has he come to you for?
Look, I'm going to avoid any specific discussions I've had with President Trump, but talk about...
Middle MAGA did a good stream yesterday talking about how Vivek is scheduled to make an appearance at the debate, possibly hinting to he could still be in the run for VP, which I think is unlikely, but he is my preferred pick. I know that's controversial, but I've analyzed the nuances of his policies, and he seems to be the most Ron Paul-like candidate that we've had since Ron Paul. And as you guys know, ride or die for Ron Paul over here. Let's continue.
About why I think this debate is going to be good for America if it's done the right way.
Have you had policy discussions with Donald Trump?
Salty.
Recently?
I had conversations with Donald Trump before the debate, and I'll be in Atlanta this evening as well. But what I will say is, in my impression, Donald Trump is prepared on his own 2 feet for this debate. My best advice to him is be yourself. Don't do what anybody else tells you to do. He's served as president of the United States, and if this is about the policy records of both presidents, and if this is about their actual policy vision for the next 4 years, this debate is going to be good for America. If it's about relitigating past grievances or attacks or accusations on either candidate, I think it's going to be bad for America, and I think that's what's at stake tonight.
Yeah, and on the issue of policy, I am curious, because when you ran for president, one of the things you proposed was abolishing the FBI. What have you discussed with him on that front?
Afuera!
Look, what I said in the presidential campaign reflected my own views on reorganizing the administrative state. I think the people we elect to run the government are really no longer the ones who actually run the government, and that ought to be a nonpartisan issue. But for President Trump, the top areas of focus are the areas that matter to Americans right now. Fixing the mass influx of illegal migration into this country, reviving the economy, and think about stable foreign policy as well. We're closer to World War III than we've ever been this century. It was very different under the Trump years, and I think that should be the area of focus at the debate tomorrow night. I think that's what's affecting Americans at home. And the more this goes into relitigating personalities or past accusations, the worse it's going to be for the country. And so I'm looking forward to hopefully what is a policy-rich debate that actually informs Americans of facts they need.
So people always say, oh, Trump just listens to whoever is next to him, telling him stuff. Tank! Good to see you. And so it's interesting. I think it's a slim chance that he'd pick Vivek because he's unproven and is new, and a lot of people don't trust him, as evidenced by comments in the chat. But at the same time, when you look online at all the polls that people have been posting on X of who the top candidate would be for VP, Vivek, when he's listed on the polls, every single one that I've seen, he's gotten 50% or higher of the votes on X on the polls. And so, Trump does tend to listen to the wisdom of the crowd, so to speak. Mama Mac said, the wisdom of the crowd isn't to be trusted. It's highly dangerous. And I agree. When you're polling from a group of people that include people on the left, the, what do we call them? Shit leftards.
Los zurdos de mierda.
Who aren't able to tell their ass from their elbow. But when you're polling from the enlightened, mostly awake people on the right, and Vivek is getting 50+% consistently on the polls, I think that really says something. So I'll be interested to see what happens. And if he's not VP, which would be, understandable since he's unproven, there's definitely a spot in a cabinet for him, I think. Homeland Security, whatever, you name it. He'd be good at anything, I think. Let's continue.
I'll also tell you something I told President Trump, and I'll tell you as well, is I give him a lot of credit for doing this debate on the terms that were effectively set by Biden. Hosted by CNN in Atlanta without a live audience would be the equivalent of Joe Biden agreeing to do a Fox News hosted debate in Alabama with 3,000 live audience members. So I give Donald Trump a lot of credit for that. If you're going to lead the country, you got to be able to show up. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, look, every aspect of this debate was agreed to by the Trump campaign. And, Jake and Dan are award-winning journalists who are relentlessly fair. They will do a fantastic job. The only presidential candidate Republican to lose Georgia in decades is Donald Trump. So Georgia's pretty friendly territory, or should be.
The reason we say it's amazing they didn't cut.
And there's a big expose that just came out basically proving that Georgia was stolen. But since Vivek mentioned how close we are to World War III, take a look at this. This came out a few days ago on the 18th, but look at this massive, menacing, nuclear-armed humpback submarine from China surfacing near Taiwan as she ramps up the nuke arsenal at a blistering pace. Pretty crazy stuff. Pretty crazy stuff. Back to debate things. Look at this. This is an interesting story. Whoa! White House press corps forced to watch feed of CNN debate from building across the street because they believe there may be a, quote, medical emergency involving one of the candidates requiring on-scene coverage. That would be insane if that ended up happening. Shout out to the 84 of you guys watching live right now. If you're new, this is Common Censored. I'm Lord Sterling. We are the censored commoners working together to spread information far and wide to accelerate and exacerbate the Great Awakening, to stop the overthrow, the communist overthrow of the U.S. and the globe dead in its tracks before they're able to succeed. Christina Layla wrote this article. According to Real Clear Investigations reporter Paul Sperry, the White House press corps is being forced to watch a feed of the CNN presidential debate Thursday night from a building across the street. No press is going to be allowed in there except for one person during the commercial breaks, apparently. So there will be, unless Trump is like wearing a wire or something, there's going to be no actual record of what really goes on, especially if they're on like a 1.5-minute delay, which may not be true. But who knows what's going on? This is all so weird. It's being done outside of the typical organization that runs the presidential debates. So this is just CNN dominating and domineering this whole situation and dictating the terms. So they're going to be watching from a building across the street because they believe there may be a, quote, medical emergency involving one of the candidates, Joe Biden, obviously. White House press corps has petitioned CNN to open up the debate studio to reporters who for now have to watch from a feed from a building across the street. Recall that Joe Biden had a medical emergency during CNN town hall in September 2019. His eye filled with blood during the climate town hall. Oh, I forgot about that. It's super crazy. So they're keeping the press away. It's rigged, according to Gateway Pundit. I tend to agree. CNN says that it's false that they're going to be having a delay, and Patrick Webb responds by, thanks for confirming the delay, because anything CNN says is the opposite of reality. Hilarious. They released this stupid-ass video, I'm sure you guys have all seen it, showing how they're going to mute each other's mics, so we don't need to rehash that. I'm sure you guys have all seen it. It's been out for a day and a half or something. Will do, Crazy B. I'll check the DMs as soon as I have a chance. Let's hop over to another story as we await the onset of the debate. I've got CNN. Oh, God. Can't believe I have CNN up on my browser, but I have it. So when the time comes, we'll jump right over to CNN and watch the debate as it unfolds. They're live right now.
Was elected president. There was an assault on our nation's capital. The Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade.
Talking about ridiculous stuff as usual. So we don't need to hang out over there at all. Fuck CNN. But let's talk about a new FOIA release that just came out regarding the CIA and the Hunter Biden laptop. This is pretty interesting. It needs to get out as soon as possible. New FOIA emails reveal the CIA was panicking as they rushed approval of the Hunter laptop letter, with the 51 people saying it has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation, clownery to the nth degree. Spies who lie. New FOIA emails obtained by conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch with Tom Arms Fitton show the CIA panicking and making sure all hands were on deck to stop the Hunter Biden laptop from hell spreading like wildfire shortly before the 2020 election, scrambling to control the narrative. In October 2020, just days before the election, 51 former intelligence officials signed and published a letter that baselessly decried the contents of Hunter's laptop from hell, saying it had all the earmarks of a Russian information operation. This obviously was a lie. It's now been confirmed. Mike Morell, former CIA acting director under Obama, immediately sent out an email making sure the infamous Hunter laptop letter by the 51 spies who lied was approved. Quote, "This is a rush job as it needs to get out as soon as possible," Morell wrote in an email on Monday. It's good that we're learning that these people are scrambling. That means that they're not in complete control if they're rushing to do stuff like this. So they're weak. They're pretending to be strong because they're weak. Sun Tzu, Morell wrote in an email on Monday, October 19th, 2020, 6:36 a.m. to the CIA's Publications Classification Review Board, PCRB, with a copy of Mark Polymeropoulos, the former CIA senior intelligence officer. Judicial Watch reported. Judicial Watch announced today that it received 8 pages of records from the CIA showing Mike Morell, former acting CIA director under Obama, requesting CIA permission to publish a letter by former intelligence community leaders stating that they believed the laptop emails exposing Hunter Biden's connections to Ukraine were Russian disinformation. Morell's request for pre-publication review was approved in just 6 hours by the CIA. It pisses me off. This is the whole thing. I forgot what I was going to say. This is a rush job. It needs to get out as soon as possible, Morell wrote in an email on Thursday. This was 5 days after the New York Post published an article on the Hunter Biden emails, 3 days before Donald Trump and Joe Biden's debate, and 15 days before the presidential election, with a nice October surprise, countering the surprise of the laptop itself. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. It pisses me off when they're like, well, it's Hunter Biden. It's not Joe Biden, it's Hunter Biden. Yeah, Hunter's the proxy that Joe's using for his influence peddling. So it's kind of important that it's Hunter Biden. It's not just Hunter. He's a functionary of Joe. So it's a total red herring straw man argument when the media says, well, it's Hunter Biden. It's not Joe. He's a private citizen. Continuing, the public statement on the Hunter Biden emails is included in the records. It states in part, we want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails provided to the New York Post by President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, are genuine or not, and that we do not have evidence of Russian involvement, just that our experience makes us deeply suspicious that the Russian government played a significant role in this case. At 8:01 a.m. the same day, an unnamed CIA official sent Morell's request to an official whose name is also redacted. Below is a high-profile / high-alert action item for the 19th of October. Former DD-CIA Michael Morell submitted for review the attached manuscript, public statement on the Hunter Biden emails. Mr. Morell had advised us that the article was co-authored with former DO officer Mark Polymeropoulos, and that, quote, many former senior and working level officials from across the IC intelligence community will sign and then be made public. PCRB has determined that this manuscript contains no classified information, just a bunch of unfounded bullshit opinions meant to manipulate you. But it definitely didn't work for anybody here, so congratulations to you guys for being awake and aware. At 11:44 a.m., 5 hours and 8 minutes after Morell sent his request, person whose name is redacted sends an email stating, "You may notify former DDCIA Deputy Director Morrell." At 12:44 p.m., an official whose name is redacted emails Morrell, "Dear Michael, the Pre-Publication Classification Review Board completed its final review of your article titled Public Statement on Hunter Biden Emails. The board determines that it contains no classified information and can be published. Agency approval for publication of this material does not represent agency endorsement or verification of this work. If you add new material, please resubmit it before sharing." Blah, 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 blah. So, Fitton says these documents are astounding. That the CIA would turn around a campaign document like this for Joe Biden's team in 6 hours is insane news. This seems to be demonstrable campaign interference by the CIA, and that should be alarming to all Americans, especially when the CIA isn't supposed to be operating domestically. Shouldn't be doing anything like this. So, chaos. It's good to see the CIA scrambling, but sucks that they were able to get away with this. Completely ridiculous. Let's hop over to our next topic. Over at Crazy News for Real, at Crazy News 4, the number 4 Real, the news you don't see. Breaking, the list of states suing Pfizer grows to 5. The suit is for misleading statements on the mRNA tech community. A legal showdown is coming, and since we're getting into this topic, we should probably boot the PooTube feed and go Rumble and exclusive. So boom, just posted the link for Rumble in the YouTube chat. Hope you guys can click that, open up a new tab, and come join us. You're going to have to join us if you want to watch the debate with us, because we're not putting it on YouTube to get struck down by the censors and the DCMA. There we go. That's the acronym I was looking for. Claims for copyright. It's fair use, man. This is like a presidential debate. You can't restrict commentary on a presidential debate. And even if it wasn't a presidential debate, commentary is another protected form of fair use, playing copyrighted material with commentary. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. All right. See you guys later on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow, but come join us, and we will, if you can't make it, we'll catch you on the flip side. But until then, let's get ready to